During the national holiday, I went home for my mother's wedding. She had decided it was time to hand over the keys to the family business, a sprawling nursing home, and finally enjoy life with her new beau. I arrived a day early to get acquainted with the place, but the sight of my face sent the vice director into a rage. At her command, a mob of senior citizens surrounded me, beating me while screaming that I was a shameless kept man. I shouted that the director was my mother, but that only made them hit harder. "No shame at your age, calling any rich woman mommy," one snarled. "Let's see how you feel when we cut off your future." With a sickening snip, the vice director's shears closed, and my world dissolved into pain. To curry favor, they dragged my broken, bleeding body to the wedding hotel. I heard the new groom whisper to my mother, "My love, that little leech tried to seduce you, so I had him taught a lesson." My mother kissed him dotingly, then had the suitcase, with me inside, tossed into a corner. As the ceremony was about to begin, she grew anxious and started calling my phone. A familiar ringtone echoed from the corner of the room. When she finally saw my face, she went on a rampage. My mother, Victoria, had informed me of her wedding with a text, attaching a photo of her new fiancé. He was a handsome man, not much older than me, with a clean-cut look that was exactly her type. Victoria was a force of nature, a brilliant businesswoman. Her success in the boardroom was matched only by her misfortune in marriage. After my father cheated on her, she remained single for years, pouring all her energy into her empire and into me. Now, she was ready to pursue her own happiness, and I was her biggest supporter. I flew home from university for the wedding, planning to also get my feet wet at the family-owned nursing home. I was about to graduate with a nursing degree, and she wanted me to take over the family business, starting with one of the facilities as a trial run. My train arrived early, so I took a taxi straight to the nursing home to familiarize myself with the environment. The woman who greeted me was Margaret, the vice director my mother had mentioned. Surprise, then a flash of venom, crossed her face when she saw me. She ushered me into a reception room and disappeared. I waited and waited. The service, I thought with a flicker of annoyance, was appalling. I decided to find her and make a note of her name to mention to my mother. But when I pulled open the door, I was met with a wall of grim-faced seniors and their caregivers. Margaret stood at the front, pointing a trembling finger at me. "It's him, that shameless gigolo. He has hands and feet, but chooses to be a homewrecker. Listen to me. If he succeeds, I'll be fired, and all of you will suffer under him." I was utterly bewildered. This had to be a grotesque misunderstanding. Before I could speak, a sharp kick from Margaret landed on my shin, forcing me to my knees. "He dared to show his face here today," she shrieked. "We'll make sure he doesn't leave in one piece. Teach him a lesson. Hit him. Whoever hits the hardest gets their accommodation fees halved for the rest of the year." That was all it took. The mob descended. I tried to fight back, but I was a lone island in a sea of bodies. Gnarled hands and bony limbs pinned me down. There must be a mistake. I screamed, my voice cracking. "Your director, Victoria, is my mother. She's letting me take over. I just came to look around." That single sentence, meant to be my salvation, was my damnation. "You hear that?" Margaret's voice was triumphant. I was right. He's here to ruin our home. We can't let him leave intact, or we'll all pay the price. Her words were a rallying cry. They ripped my glasses from my face. Fists and feet rained down. It felt like a truck was rolling over my organs, and I was certain I would tear apart at any second. I spat out a mouthful of blood. "If you don't believe me, let me call my mother. She can prove it." The assault paused. They took my phone and held it up to my face for the facial recognition. My face was already a swollen, unrecognizable pulp. It failed. Finally, I choked out my passcode. Margaret typed it in. "The nerve of this leech," she announced, holding the phone aloft, using the director's birthday as his passcode and their photo as the wallpaper. Look, the screen showed a photo of my mother and me. She had insisted I kiss her cheek for the picture. Feeling it was too intimate, I had kissed her forehead instead. She had loved the shot and made me use it as my lock screen. Seeing the photo only fueled their conviction. A fresh wave of slaps stung my face. Margaret opened my contacts and found my mother's number, saved under "My dearest goddess." "More proof," she crowed. "He's trying to seduce the director. The little liar is stubborn, isn't he?" My mother had been my whole world, the goddess who had raised me and sheltered me from every storm. The call went through, but my mother, likely busy with wedding preparations, didn't answer. On the fifth try, a man's voice, dripping with saccharine sweetness, came on the line. "You little homewrecker, You actually tricked my darling Victoria into saving you as little baby in her phone. You have no shame. We're getting married today. You won't succeed." It was him, the new fiancé. His words were the final nail in my coffin, igniting the mob's fury into an inferno. Their hands grew tired, so they brought brooms, mops, and a bucket from the hallway. They forced my head into the bucket, one used for the residents' waste. The reek of ammonia and feces filled my senses as a foul tide of filth surged into my mouth, choking me. My phone rang again. Margaret glanced at the screen. It was my mother calling back. A flicker of hope ignited within me, but it only seemed to enrage Margaret more. She hung up the call and produced a large pair of scissors, advancing on me with a terrifying glint in her eyes. Someone yanked down my trousers. I thrashed wildly, a cold dread seizing me as I understood her intent. "So young and so shameless, calling any rich woman mommy," she sneered. "Let's see how you feel when I cut off your future." "Please, it's a mistake." I begged, my voice raw. "Show mercy." Her eyes were chips of ice. "I've lived half a century, girl. My eyes are a ruler. What mistake could there be? You're a piece of trash, and I won't let you ruin my son's happiness." "Don't you dare," I screamed, my voice tearing. "If you touch me, my mother will never let you go." She let out a cold laugh. "My son is marrying her today. By seniority, she'll have to call me mother-in-law. I'm just cleaning up the family for her. She'll be too busy thanking me to hold a grudge. You can talk until you're blue in the face, you piece of filth, but you won't escape this." There was a cold, metallic snip. A white-hot agony exploded from between my legs. I knew, in that instant, that I was ruined. Humiliating tears streamed down my face. The mob chattered excitedly as Margaret tossed the severed part of me to the Doberman that guarded the yard. She then ground her heel into my wound. "To," as she said, "teach me a lesson." She snapped a photo and sent it to her son. "Son, look how well I did. I've crippled this bastard. Now he can never seduce your wife. You have to tell her to make me the director of this place tonight." A long, enthusiastic voice message came back in reply. "Mom, you're brilliant. Bring him to the wedding. There will be a lot of people. There. I want to make an example of him. Show everyone what happens when they try to steal my woman. It'll solidify my position." "Excellent. My son is so thoughtful. I'll bring him over right now to celebrate with you." The seniors clapped and cheered. As a reward, Margaret invited the most enthusiastic of my attackers to attend the wedding. They scurried off to change into their best clothes, leaving me covered in blood and filth, flies already buzzing around my broken body. I tried to crawl toward my discarded phone to call for help. Margaret's sharp eyes caught the movement. With a flying kick, she sent me sprawling. She planted her high heel on my face and, using the same pair of scissors, snipped off the fingers of the hand I had extended. "Still trying to call for help, are you?" she hissed. "Don't be impatient. Soon you'll see just how happy my son is, and how pathetic you truly are." She had a few of the caregivers stuff my limp body into a large suitcase, tossing my phone in after me. "Won't he suffocate?" one of them asked nervously. Margaret simply left my head sticking out before having the suitcase dragged to her car. "This thing is too filthy for the inside. Strap it to the roof." The autumn sun beat down on my face, a cruel reminder that I was still alive. I grit my teeth against the pain and the jolting ride. When my mother sees me, I vowed, "You will all pay." We arrived at the wedding venue. I could hear my mother's cheerful voice greeting guests. I tried to scream, but they had stuffed a rag in my mouth. "Director," Margaret said, her voice oozing flattery. "These residents and staff were so excited for you. I took the liberty of bringing them along to join the celebration." My mother waved a dismissive hand. "Today is my happy day. The more the merrier. Find a seat inside." As she turned to greet another guest, Margaret had the suitcase taken down. She shoved my head inside and zipped it shut before wheeling me into the grand hall. "Son, I brought the bastard." I heard her whisper to her son, Julian. "He's in here. We roughed him up pretty good. That should be all right, right?" "Don't worry, Mom," Julian cooed. "My darling Victoria is a powerhouse. This is nothing to her. You'll see. She'll thank you for this." I thrashed inside the suitcase, trying to make enough noise to be noticed. Julian saw the suitcase, shaking, and delivered several vicious kicks. "You piece of shit," he muttered. "I'm this close to sealing the deal, and you show up to ruin everything. I'll kill you today." The next second, his voice transformed into a syrupy sweet coo. "My love, what are you doing over here? You must be tired from greeting all the guests. Let me give you a shoulder rub." Finally, my mother's eyes landed on the suitcase. What is this? She asked Margaret. Why did you bring something so filthy in here? Director, Margaret began, her voice full of fawning respect. This man came to the nursing home today, claiming you were his sugar. Mama, I heard him insulting you and had my people teach him a lesson. I brought him here for you to decide what to do with him. Is that so? Julian interjected, clinging to my mother's arm. These swindlers are getting bold, aren't they? Trying to scam my darling Victoria. Tell them, my love, you don't keep men, do you? Of course not. I only love you, my mother said. Then her voice filled with concern. Well, you and my son. That's strange. It's almost time, and he's still not here. Hearing her mention my name, Leo, I thrashed with renewed vigor. Just open the suitcase, I prayed. Ugh, are you all blind? Julian snapped at the hotel staff. Get this disgusting thing out of here. Don't let it offend my darling's eyes. No, my mother said, her voice hardening. Leave it, right there in the corner. I'd like to see who dares to cause trouble on my wedding day. The suitcase was dragged to a corner. A foul mixture of blood and sewage seeped out onto the pristine carpet. The two waiters who moved me, disgusted, gave the case a few hard kicks when they thought no one was looking. Growing more anxious by my absence, my mother started making calls. First, to the driver she'd sent to the station, who told her he never saw me. Then, she called my phone. The first call went unanswered. On the second, the familiar, custom ringtone echoed from the corner. Darling, Leo probably just got lost, Julian purred, dabbing at her forehead with a handkerchief. I'll have my friends look for him right now, don't you worry. Shut up, my mother commanded, her voice like a whip crack. Both of you be quiet. The bustling hall fell silent. The only sound was my ringtone, emanating from the suitcase. Margaret kicked the case. That liar's phone is ringing. It's probably one of his accomplices. I'll get it and throw it away. She unzipped the suitcase. I gasped for air, my lungs burning, and pushed my head out. She fished out my phone and handed it to a waiter to be discarded. Bring that here, my mother ordered, her eyes fixed on the unique, custom-made phone case. The phone was slick with blood. She wiped it clean, pressed the power button, and entered the passcode. The lock screen, with our picture, appeared. Her face became a mask of cold fury. She grabbed Margaret by the collar. Where did you get this phone? Where is its owner? Margaret trembled. Victoria, please, let's not get physical. The phone, it belongs to that bastard. My mother barked an order. The suitcase was ripped open, and I was hauled out. Julian rushed forward, pulling out the photo of me my mother had sent him. He stared at it, then at my battered face, for a full 5 minutes. My love, he declared. It's not Leo. This scum must have kidnapped Leo. That's why he has his phone. Margaret seized the lifeline. Yes, that must be it. This man kidnapped young Master Leo to blackmail you. The thought of me being kidnapped sent my mother into a blind panic. She told Margaret to interrogate me. The seniors and caregivers who had come with her, seeing a chance to impress, swarmed me again, kicking and punching. In the chaos, the rag was kicked from my mouth. Mom, I rasped, my voice a shredded whisper. It's me, Leo. It's your baby, Leo. Help me. My voice was weak, but the bond between a mother and child is strong. She flew to my side, shoving the mob of seniors away. With her silk scarf, she gently wiped the grime from my face. The moment she saw me clearly, her eyes filled with disbelief. The disbelief was instantly consumed by a rage so vast and terrifying it seemed to suck the air from the room. Mom, I whispered, reaching for her face with my ruined left hand. If you hadn't found me, they would have killed me. Who? She asked, her voice a low, guttural growl. Who did this? The group of attackers who had been so bold moments before now shrank back, cowering behind Margaret and her son, their eyes wide with terror. My mother's hands, incredibly gentle, traced the bruises on my skin. She tenderly cleaned the filth from my body with a napkin. Julian scurried forward and fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. My love, it was all a misunderstanding. My mother was only trying to protect us. She meant well, but made a terrible mistake. Leo must not have explained himself clearly. Yes, Margaret chimed in. The young master, he never told me who he was. That's why I made this horrible error. If I had known it was you, Leo, I never would have laid a hand on you. It's your fault for not being clear. You're lying, I croaked, pointing my right hand at Julian. I told you my mother was the director. You didn't believe me. You even took my phone and called her. It was you who answered, wasn't it? No, not me, he denied vehemently. I never answered your call. Check the call log if you don't believe me. My mother checked my phone. The call log was empty. Julian, it seemed, had more cunning than his mother. He knew to delete the evidence. But on her own phone, the record of my desperate calls remained. She snatched a champagne flute from a table and smashed it over Julian's head. I'll give you one more chance. Did you, or did you not, answer Leo's call? Darling, it was a mistake, he whimpered, bleeding. How was I to know it was Leo? I thought it was a scammer. I was only trying to protect you, to keep you from being distracted. That's why I deleted the call. Forgive me, please. He groveled, trying to win her over. Leo, it was all my fault, he said, turning to me and banging his head on the floor. For the sake of us becoming a family, please forgive my mother. Technically, you'll have to call her grandmother. She's old, don't hold it against her. You're a university student, you know all about respecting your elders. I'll have her pour you a drink to apologize. He was trying to use morality to trap me. I summoned every ounce of strength I had, grabbed a heavy flower pot from the floor, and hurled it at him. Fine, I hissed. If she suffers everything I suffered, I'll consider forgiving her. Seeing I was serious, Margaret made a break for the exit. My mother's security guards tackled her instantly. Victoria, I was wrong. I was truly wrong. Please forgive me, she begged. I'm practically your mother-in-law, Leo's grandmother. It's my right to discipline him. My mother calmly took a meat cleaver from a kitchen cart. She had Margaret's hands held down and, one by one, chopped off all 10 of her fingers. Screams echoed through the banquet hall as the remaining guests stared in horror. My apologies for the poor hospitality, Victoria announced to the room, her voice dangerously calm. There has been a family emergency. The wedding is canceled. Please, everyone leave. I will visit each of you personally to make amends in the coming days. Once the guests were gone, only Margaret, her son, and my attackers remained. My mother, now a wraith from hell, motioned to her guards, who descended on Margaret with fists and feet. Don't worry, my son, she said to me, her voice softening. Mommy will get revenge for you. They will suffer everything you suffered, and more. Tears of rage and helplessness streamed from my eyes. The other seniors and caregivers fell to their knees, begging. Director, it was all Margaret's idea. She told us you were marrying her son, that everything you own would be his. We didn't dare disobey her. They threw her under the bus without a second thought. You spineless worms. Margaret shrieked from the floor. Have you forgotten all the favors I've done for you? I tugged on my mother's sleeve. The true culprits weren't these pathetic old fools. It was her fiancé, Julian. He was being held, but as soon as he was released, he grabbed a chair and began beating his own mother. I told you not to meddle. Now look what you've done. You've offended the young master. You deserve this. Apologize to him. He's a college student. He has a kind heart. He'll forgive you. After a few performative blows, he knelt by my mother. My love, my mother was wrong, but she's been beaten. Can't we just let this go? It wasn't easy for us to find each other. You can't abandon me for your son. He dabbed at his eyes with his sleeve. I let out a cold laugh. He had no idea he had just stepped on a landmine. My father used to beat my mother, and whenever she found the courage to leave, my grandmother would use those exact same words to guilt her into staying. A terrifying smile stretched my mother's face. She tilted Julian's chin up. Don't you worry, I almost forgot about you. After I'm done with your mother, it's your turn. When did I ever tell you my fortune would be yours? Do you not understand your place? A kept man trying to call the shots? You must be dreaming. She slapped him so hard his face swelled instantly. He spat out a bloody tooth, but kept smiling. Darling, I never said that. It was that old hag. She made it all up. I only have eyes for you. I don't care if you have money or not. Margaret was barely breathing. Julian, trying to de-escalate, said, My love, let's just stop. My mom is about to die. If something happens, you'll have to take care of her. My mother actually laughed. She had a bucket of feces and urine brought over, just like the one they used on me, and had his head forced into it. Are you awake now? She asked when he came up sputtering. That bitch is your mother, not mine. And I'm going to kill her today. Julian, his expensive suit now dripping with filth, continued to plead. My love, I was wrong. I truly was. Please, just spare my mother's life. I'll take the rest of her punishment. This was the moment I was waiting for. I leaned over and whispered something in my mother's ear. Her eyes instantly reddened. She started to lift my trousers to see my wound, ready to call for an ambulance. It's no use, Mom, I stammered. They fed the other half to the dog. Her face crumpled. She tilted her head back, forcing the tears away. She had more buckets of filth brought out and had every person who had participated in my beating subjected to the same treatment. The hall filled with the sounds of choking and gagging. As she cleaned my wound, which was already showing signs of infection, the hatred on her face intensified. Julian, after several dunks, finally understood she was serious and begged for mercy. My mother had his pants stripped off. Margaret, seeing this, panicked. "Son, run. Run," she screamed. My mother knocked her unconscious with a chair. Julian, still clueless, said, "Darling, you're so impatient. There are so many people here. It's a little embarrassing." My mother kicked him and spat on him. "What are you thinking, you pervert? Today, I'm going to cleanse you of your worldly desires." As she raised the scissors, the same pair that had been used on me, he finally understood. He scrambled backward. "My love, why?" "My mother just hit him a few times, cut off 5 of his fingers. But she's been beaten. Her fingers were cut off too. Why are you doing this?" "Why? You should ask your dear mother that question." She advanced on him. He looked at his mother's unconscious form, and the realization dawned. "No, no, please," he begged. "Leo is already ruined. You can't ruin me too. His genes aren't that great anyway. We can just make a new heir to inherit your fortune." He thought this was his lifeline. It was the anchor that dragged him to the abyss. "So you were after my money all along," my mother said, her voice devoid of emotion. "You hit it well. I almost fell for it." She took a red-hot branding iron from a portable stove someone had brought from the kitchen and pressed it to his face. He screamed in agony, still trying to defend himself. "I swear, I only ever loved you. It's just that Leo is useless now, so he won't have to compete with our son for the inheritance. My mother did us a favor. We can try hard tonight, have a big healthy boy next year, and our life will be perfect." My mother poured saline solution on his fresh burns. He howled. She pressed the iron to his body again, the sizzle of cooking flesh filling the air. He finally knew she was done with him. "You old bitch," he spat, all pretense gone. "You think I really like you? You're old and your ass is loose. If it weren't for your money, I wouldn't even look at you. Just wait. When I get out of here, I'll have people kill you." Hearing his true feelings, my mother showed no sign of sadness. She pressed the iron to his stomach. "You think I ever really liked you? You were just a pet, a clean one. But since you've told the truth, since you want to have me killed, I can't let you walk out of here today." With her guards holding him down, she brought the scissors down with a final, decisive snip. Julian fainted from the pain. My mother, with grim practicality, used the hot iron to cauterize the wound. When he was revived with a splash of water, he begged her, "My love, please, take me to the hospital. If we hurry, they can reattach it. I don't want to be a eunuch." His words reminded her. She took the severed piece and flushed it down a hotel toilet. Now Julian didn't have to worry. He was rootless, just like me. With the two of them dealt with, my mother turned to the remaining group of seniors. "I have never wronged any of you," she said, her voice filled with pain. "How could you be so cruel to my son?" "Director, we were blind. We listened to lies," they cried. "Please let us go. We'll do anything to repay you." "What would I need you for?" she scoffed. "All right, you want to leave?" They nodded frantically. "Then fight each other. When my son is satisfied, you can go." These were not frail old people. Most were in their early 60s and still strong. They refused to move. "This is elder abuse. It's illegal. We'll sue you. You'll rot in prison," one of them yelled. My mother kicked him to the ground and pressed her heel to his face. "Look around you," she said softly. "Do you really think I'm afraid of prison now?" She pointed at the man. "Take him away. Make an example." A series of blood-curdling screams came from the next room. The remaining group looked at my mother as if she were the devil herself. Then, the first slap echoed in the room. Soon, they were a writhing mass of bodies, tearing into each other. "My son, I'm so sorry." My mother wept, holding me, her perfect makeup ruined. "I wanted to give you a happy home, and instead I brought you this disaster." "It's not your fault, Mom," I sobbed. "I ruined your wedding. I shouldn't have come back." She pulled me into a fierce hug. "Silly boy, you're all I have. Anyone who dares to touch a single hair on your head, I will make them wish they were never born." She called a halt to the brawl and had the dazed group stuff Julian and Margaret into separate suitcases. The two of them, sensing the end was near, crawled to my feet. "Young Master Leo, please, for the sake of our family, let us go," Julian begged. "You've had your revenge. We've suffered what you suffered. We're even now." "Are you?" I asked, pointing at the filthy suitcase. "Are you sure?" Margaret trembled, reaching for my foot. Leo, it was my fault, I was blind. Take all your anger out on me. Just let Julian go. He's going to spend his life with your mother, their family. I kicked her arm away. What damn nonsense are you spouting? He was just a pet duck my mother kept. The fool actually thought he could be part of the family. Julian, knowing all was lost, asked my mother one last, pathetic question. My love, were all these years we spent together for nothing? Is there not a single shred of feeling for me in your heart? You won't even leave me a path to live? You are so cruel. I had to admire their gall. They were the aggressors, but they spoke as if they were the only victims. My mother, done with his theatrics, had them gagged and loaded into the suitcases. She had a large pickup truck brought around, strapped the suitcases to the roof, and loaded the bruised and battered seniors into the truck bed. Sitting in the passenger seat, I watched the familiar country roads go by. I knew where she was taking us, a place where Julian would have no chance of calling for help. My mother had started her empire by raising pigs. When the nursing homes took off, she had leased the farm out. She drove the pickup right through the gates. A 300-pound hog stepping on you is far more painful than a human kick. My mother had the seniors drag Margaret's suitcase into the pig pen. She pulled Margaret's head out and gagged her. Surrounded by the massive, snorting animals, Margaret's face went white with terror. Julian, forced to watch from his own suitcase, thrashed and tried to scream. The other seniors knew then that Margaret and Julian would not be leaving this place alive. The pigs were curious about the new object in their pen, but kept their distance. My mother pointed at Margaret's suitcase. Go into the pen, she told the group. Make one of those pigs walk across that suitcase, and I'll let you go home. They huddled together like terrified quail, no one daring to move. No one, my mother asked softly. Fine. I'll just have to put you all in sacks and throw you in too. Finally, one old man, his face a mask of grim determination, stepped into the pen. He shooed a massive boar toward the suitcase. The hog lumbered over the case. A crimson stain began to spread from underneath. It was too brutal. I started to tell my mother to stop, but she just shook her head. Son, I'm burning all my bridges today. She dared to do that to you. I will make her regret the day she was born. After a dozen more passes, the suitcase was silent, sitting in a large pool of blood. Get it out, my mother ordered. The sight inside was beyond horrific. Julian nearly fainted again. My mother had him slapped awake. Do you want to end up like her? She asked, her hands around his throat. He shook his head frantically, begging for a chance to live. Fine, dump this into the slurry pit, and I'll let you go. He stared, unable to process the command. I'll count to 3. 3, 2. Before she could say 1, Julian was scrambling to do as he was told. A few moments later, the suitcase and its contents disappeared beneath the surface of the foul pit. His face was sheet white, covered in sweat. The others were vomiting. The fist I had kept clenched for so long finally relaxed. I keep my word, my mother said, having her men untie Julian. You can go. Get out of my sight. If I ever see you again, you won't be so lucky. He fell to his knees, sobbing. Whether he was crying for his mother or for the future he had lost, I couldn't say. My mother helped me into the truck and started the engine. Suddenly, Julian, screaming like a madman, charged at her with a heavy feed shovel. My mother sidestepped easily. He slipped on a patch of pig dung and fell. The sharp edge of the shovel plunged deep into his own neck. My love, he gurgled, clutching at the wound. Help me, help me. My mother ignored him, put the truck in gear, and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw the swarm of pigs rush forward. His fate was sealed. He had brought it on himself. I finally let myself cry, tears of relief and catharsis. The seniors who had beaten me had escaped my mother's direct wrath, but they were now stranded in a remote mountain area. My mother had given the farmhands the day off. The weather forecast had called for a typhoon, with heavy rains. I hoped they wouldn't get caught in a flash flood on their long walk back. Back in the city, my mother took me to a private hospital. After a doctor cleaned and bandaged my wounds, she held me, and we slept through the night. Outside, the storm raged. In my mother's arms, I felt safe for the first time. When I woke up, she was gone. She had left me a letter and her will. She had gone to the police station to turn herself in. The news was on. The typhoon had caused a massive flash flood in the mountains. Near a certain pig farm, a landslide had buried more than a dozen people. I read my mother's letter, every word a testament to her love for me. I couldn't just wait. I called the police and told them everything. The storm was too severe, the landslide at the farm too catastrophic. The police could find no trace of Julian or Margaret's bodies, and there were no witnesses. The security footage from the nursing home clearly documented their assault on me, but the trail went cold after that. My story and my mother's confession were so fantastic that the police began to wonder if we were mentally stable. No one ever reported Julian or Margaret missing. My mother compensated the families of the seniors and caregivers who had disappeared in the landslide. Without bodies, the prosecution's case was weak. The hotel scene proved she had harmed them, but there was no evidence of murder. Ultimately, considering the extreme torture and permanent disability I had suffered at their hands, my mother was sentenced to 15 years in prison. "Work hard," I told her during a visit. "Get your sentence reduced. I'll be waiting for you." My mother, never one to be defeated, was a model prisoner. With good behavior and meritorious service, her sentence was reduced to 6 years. 6 years later, I met her at the prison gates. We held each other and wept. The long, dark storm was finally over. Every day forward was a new beginning.